stop this fight with your father? I'm stopping this one now.
Don't, okay? Let me finish. I gotta prove it.
Prove what?
I'm not a mistake.
Hey everyone, my name is Cole. A few months ago, Creed 3 was released to the world. In preparation for the film, I decided to revisit Creed and watch Creed 2 for the first time. For years, I have heard mixed reception towards the Creed films and the Rocky franchise. I know I watched Creed years ago, and for some reason, I disliked it. Maybe it was because I watched all of the Rocky films before, and my brain was hotwired to hate anything that tried to be like Rocky. At the end of the day, I don't know what I was thinking, because I'm gonna be honest, I am lost. After watching these two films, in my opinion, these are modern masterpieces. I adore Creed 1 and 2. And I'm gonna say it, these are some of the best films in the Rocky franchise. Also, for this video, I will not be discussing Creed 3 as it feels completely disconnected from these first two films, in my opinion. I'm just not the biggest fan. From the multiple plot contrivances to the villain and the fight scenes. Creed 3 was a great directorial debut from Michael B. Jordan, but Coogler and Capel won my heart with the first two films, and I am bitter. Maybe a video for another time. Anyway, enjoy. What better way to introduce us to the main character, Adonis, than this?
At least let me get my shoes.
This little ass kicker, he is not even a teenager and he is already KOing people. In all seriousness, this moment doesn't just demonstrate his inner frustration and outside aggression, but the point he is at in his life at such a young age. Staring at an empty wall, thinking, or even attempting to control his rage. It's all he can do. Suddenly, it doesn't even matter. Why? Because we see this woman enter the cell, staring at him with a gaze that only a mother could understand, staring at him as if she had seen a ghost, as if she had seen a premonition of a long-lost soul that she had once loved. What goes on to transpire is a personable and emotional conversation that impacts me every time I experience it. Adonis immediately assumes she is a social worker or trying to move him to another group home. He has experienced more life than most and has led him here. In this close conversation, this woman tells Adonis that when his father died, she pushed everyone away. She lost herself and her life. He mentions to her that he has no father, and as she should, she immediately corrects him. He had a father, and that man was her husband. The most famous boxer ever, Apollo Creed, had an affair, and Adonis doesn't know his biological mother. But Apollo's wife at the time, Marianne, wants to take care of Adonis despite this. She proceeds to ask Adonis if he would come and stay with her. One of my favorite moments of this film is when the slow ambience and somber piano-based score by Ludwig, I'm gonna butcher this, Göransson, I'm so sorry, begins to rise as we watch Adonis's fists, his rage, his aggression, release. This moment to go from anger to his hidden sense of longing is beautiful. His fist comes undone in such a vulnerable state that it can only be love and hope that would have caused him to do this. It's so captivating and natural. The authenticity of his reaction to that question destroys me every single time, and this was only the first 5 minutes of the film. It's stunning. And then, after that, we begin the journey.
What was his name?
The beginning of the film sets up Adonis as a rising boxer who wants to grow his name and become a professional boxer full-time, like his father. He eventually seeks out the man, the myth, the legend, the Italian stallion, Rocky Balboa, to become his trainer. Throughout a good portion of the first film, Adonis goes under the last name of Johnson, his mother's name. We see Adonis stating that going under the name Johnson is easier as it's less unwanted attention, and there are also numerous moments where we see him resenting the name Creed, as he wants to make a name for himself and not be compared or held to the legacy of his father, Apollo Creed, who is essentially the greatest boxer to ever step foot in the ring. As we all know, he must come to terms with where he came from and who his father is. To make it into the boxing world, he must take the name of Creed to gain traction, fans, and brand recognition. This decision leads to something Adonis wanted to avoid: the media and world discussing Apollo, his affair, and the legacy he left in Adonis. He must now prove that he isn't a fraud, but will be a man who will create his own legacy. He wants to prove that he isn't here solely because of the name Creed. Adonis stated that he doesn't want to lose with the name Creed, and he doesn't want to be called a fraud or a false Creed. His new mentor, Rocky Balboa, affirms Adonis that he must forgive Apollo for what he did, because there is nothing he can do about it, and that he must not get caught in Apollo's shadow. Adonis must step into the ring for himself and his pride. We all want purpose. We want to wake up in the morning knowing we have a fulfilling life ahead of us, that we are utilizing the time we are given, and that we have an opportunity to make a change. We want to live and breathe knowing we have meaning, that we aren't mistakes, and that we aren't here by accident. Whether that is proving our family wrong, proving those who surround us wrong, or proving that society is wrong, that you will not become a victim of society, but instead one who changes society for the better. Creed is telling young people, young men, that they do not have to become a victim of their surroundings, but instead become a champion of them. Adonis Creed doesn't represent a boxer, but a world changer. He embodies a statue that we can become more than statistics, and that we can become more than empty shells, but become hollowed out by our upbringing. On top of this mission and journey to find purpose, Adonis has also discovered a love interest, Bianca, who is a pillar that he relies on throughout this first film. In addition to Rocky, of course, who soon discovers he has cancer in the second act of this film, Adonis forces Rocky to take care of himself, despite Rocky being afraid, since cancer treatment is one of the reasons his wife passed away to begin with. Adonis pushed Rocky to fight just the same as Adonis is fighting in the ring. What's so crucial about Adonis pushing Rocky to keep fighting is that Rocky, inevitably, pushes Adonis to not give up in the climactic boxing match at the end of the film. The Rocky franchise teaches us that beautiful and glorious theme, the will to persevere. It is essential in both the ring and in life. You'll continuously get knocked down, but you should always get back up. Never, ever quit. At the final fight of the film, Adonis gets knocked down, and Ryan Coogler, the director, includes a small flash of life, you could say, to show the journey and everything Adonis has gone through in the film. Showing his journey of survival, endurance, and hope, it all leads to the best moment of the film. I'm showing this scene again because it's the climax of the first Creed film in my eyes. This is where Adonis truly states what he is feeling and what he is fighting for.
Stop this one with your father. I'm stopping this one now.
Don't, okay? Let me finish. I gotta prove it.
Prove what?
I'm not a mistake.
What a heavy and burdensome statement. Creed isn't fighting for money, he isn't fighting for fame or a chance at the title, but he is fighting for his own spiritual and individual purpose and his meaning. His reason to wake up every morning and his reason to be Adonis Creed. We see the media talk about Creed, talking about Apollo and referencing Apollo cheating on his wife, resulting in Adonis as a mistake. Adonis is spoken about as a mistake, as a slip-up, as a result of a poor decision. In these films, he is fighting for himself and asking, am I more? Is he more than his circumstance that he has no control over?
You see this guy here staring back at you?
Yeah?
That's your toughest opponent. Every time you get into the ring, that's who you're going against. I believe that in boxing, and I do believe that in life, okay?
It's also poetic and natural, but tragic. Adonis wants and needs to prove to everyone that he isn't a mistake and that he is supposed to be here. That is his entire quest, his entire journey in the first film. He needs to fight, he needs to soar, and he needs to show that he has meaning. And what does he do?
In the corner, throwing body shots like he's Rocky Balboa, going upstairs like he's Apollo Creed. Closing seconds of the fight.
It's not a victory that will go on his record, but is a moral victory that will go in his heart. This is all he's been searching for, showing that he has me and that he has a place in both the boxing world and in life. He proves that he is more, that he has the meaning he has been hunting for. At the end of the film, Adonis finds pride in the name of Creed. In an emotional moment, he is asked what he'd say if he could speak to his father now.
Adonis, I know you never met your father, but if he was here tonight, what would you want to say to him?
I just tell him that I love him. I know he ain't leave me on purpose. And, I'm proud to be a Creed.
His arc has come full circle, and we see the growth of his character. It is so flawless and beautiful, and at the end of the day, he found the meaning of his life, and he found the purpose of his journey. A message I love about the Creed film is that it's not about boxing, but rather what comes to the life of being a boxer and also being a human being. And this is a very hot take, but I have to say it, I think Creed 2 is possibly better than Creed 1. Of course, I do believe, I actually almost would have preferred if we got a Victor Drago film before this, and maybe it tied into this film where it's Creed versus Drago, because I find the story of Victor Drago to be unbelievably compelling and probably my favorite part of the film. But overall, I adore Creed 2. I'm gonna say it. It seems like an unpopular opinion, but the film is just so layered and meticulous with what it shows and the emotion you see from each and every character. And something that I find very special is that whether that is a simple glance by Drago's son as he watches his father ridiculed and mocked by his own country that they want to represent and earn their favor, or Adonis as he looks in the mirror trying to come to grips with the fact that he is about to fight the son of the man who killed his father, who killed his legacy, who killed Apollo Creed, who is a walking, talking legend of the world who is praised and respected as one of the greatest boxers to ever walk this earth. In Creed 2, Adonis isn't just fighting for himself, but for his country and the legacy of his father. There's such an unbearable amount of tension and stress that you can't help but feel as if you two are drowning in this life, in this stress, in this environment that Adonis is exposed to. Creed 2 is a small time jump after the original Creed film. Adonis has won 6 fights in a row since beating Conley, which, once again, that fight was unbelievable. But this ultimately is proving that he has a place in the boxing world. This new and mature version of Adonis we see has become wiser, stronger, and more seasoned in both life and the ring. The film starts with Creed fighting and becoming the new heavyweight champion of the world, gaining the belt that both his mentor, Rocky, and his father have both won and once obtained. To celebrate this victory, we cut over to Adonis and his wife, Bianca. They are in a hotel where he plans to propose to her. It is in this instance where we see one of the plot points that buries Adonis in this film. As he is proposing to his wife, they both realize that she did not hear him ask that important question due to her progressive hearing loss, which they set up in the first film. Adonis realizes how hard this burden can be and how he must be there for her, but more than ever, while also continuing his career as a boxer. Additionally, he finds out he will later become a father. Bianca is pregnant. This came at a point in their lives where they do not feel ready, but Adonis is hopeful and states that they will get ready now. It's so inspirational and genuine. Moreover, on top of this, Rocky is still recovering from his cancer treatment. The weight and stress are only increased by what is to come in the next fights in this film. And something that's just unbelievably insane is just how much is going on in this film. Whether that's the loss of Bianca's hearing, the fact that she's pregnant, and the fact that Rocky is still recovering from his cancer treatment. There's just so much weight that's being toppled on top of Adonis and also his boxing career as it goes. And additionally, we have the best villains, in my opinion, in the Creed series so far. The arrival of Ivan Drago, the man who killed Apollo Creed, and his son, Victor Drago. The fight the world wants to see, Creed vs. Drago, son versus son. What a legendary matchup. It is so exciting, and it is honestly a great story to choose for Creed 2. With the resurgence of the Dragos, Creed becomes enraged by what Ivan took from him. I imagine that Adonis envisioned his life with his father, how different things could have been, and if he would have been happier. This is only another added dimension to his character, story, and the weight on his shoulders. Adonis believes he doesn't have a choice but to fight Victor, to fight for the legacy of his father. And one of the sad moments of the film is that Rocky decides that he can't support this decision by Adonis, so he chooses to step away and allows Adonis to fight this on his own. Rocky lost his best friend Apollo to this game, and he refuses to lose, essentially, his son. In Creed 1, Adonis fights for his own individual purpose and hidden meaning. Creed 2, Adonis fights for his legacy and his father, and the pride of his name. Adonis has everything to lose, whereas the Dragos have nothing to lose. They have already lost everything. The Dragos fight for their country and for respect. Ivan Drago, once lost to Rocky, lost everything because of that, including his wife. Ivan pushes Victor, his son, to an extreme that he neglects him and doesn't even care what happens to his son, but more about what happens to his legacy. An example of this is the first fight between Adonis and Victor. Ivan tells his son that Creed is embarrassing him, despite winning the first 3 rounds and telling him that this is basically an embarrassment and is why his mother left him. Absolutely brutal. All because he hasn't knocked out Creed in the first 3 rounds. It's just so ruthless, and it's honestly insane that just how much pressure and tension he's putting on his son and caring very little about how he's actually feeling and what he's actually putting his son through. After basically losing the first fight, even though Drago was disqualified for a late hit that ended up putting Creed in the hospital, Adonis must rest and recover to get revenge on the Dragos in the ring. Adonis is in pieces as he lies in the hospital, both physically and mentally. His mental will and strength has been tested, and he must put himself back together, piece by piece. Is this it for Adonis Creed? It is the ultimate question that he must face. He must find his meaning and purpose once again, like he did in the first film. In this vulnerable state, Creed is disconnected and distant from anything and everyone, including his wife, Bianca. He is struggling to put the fragments of himself, both mental and physical, back together after the devastating first match. Adonis is in a place that only he can get himself out of. Everything he is going through is by his own design. He is sinking and screaming in the deep, and only he can swim to the top. He must rekindle his fire and remember that he can live up to the legacy of his father and redeem himself. Something that is unique about Creed 2 is a small focus on the antagonist, Ivan Victor Drago. These two characters are aiming to bring glory back to Russia, and you see multiple scenes of them seeking that approval from the fake and disingenuous people who sit above them. One of my favorite scenes of Creed 2 is when Ivan and Victor are seen at a dinner table in Russia with these leaders and those who they seek to impress. Suddenly, you hear a woman enter the room. One of my favorite, I don't know how to explain it, but the actor who plays Victor Drago is so expressive, and it's almost like, it reminds me of how Ryan Gosling acts a little bit. He can show so much emotion with such little expression that it's so moving. Victor's face erupts with emotion as his mother takes a seat at the table, and you see nothing but the genuine fear, anxiety, resentment, embarrassment, and millions of other emotions take over Victor's face. Ivan looks like as if he has seen a ghost looking at this woman. Victor recognizes that these are the people who abandoned his father and ran out on their family. He immediately leaves the table and has a heartbreaking conversation with his father. I remember in the film, Victor states that his mother might as well be a stranger. He doesn't even know her. That woman has no importance to him. She abandoned them out of shame, and now they seek her approval and acceptance? It's ridiculous. His rage and hatred just consumes him as he hates seeking their respect after all they've done to their family. After all they did to Ivan, he wants his son to redeem their family in front of their country, despite shaming him, leaving him, and resenting his name. No matter the cost of their lives and their bond, Ivan seeks to bring glory to Russia in the name of Drago. The humanization of the antagonist is what's so special about this film. It makes you feel for both sides of the same coin, without directly saying it. Both Creed and Drago want to represent their country, but also carry on the legacy of their fathers. They are the same, and it creates that connection and parallel that raises the stakes even higher moving forward. Adonis must ask himself, what is he really fighting for? He was afraid of his father's legacy, the expectations that come with being a champ. scared he couldn't do what Apollo could. Adonis is struggling to get back into the ring to find that meaning that he once obtained. Rocky returns to the film and reminds him that his mind wasn't right, and that they will heal, they'll grow, and they'll fight together. It is so wholesome, and it is an absolutely beautiful and stunning moment, like most scenes Rocky is present in. Later in the film, after this moment of course, Adonis must go to the hospital as Bianca is about to give birth to their child. Our boy has a beautiful baby girl, which only gives him another reason to fight, but another reason to consider the safety of himself and to protect those around him. In addition to the birth of his daughter, we find out that Bianca's progressive hearing loss is hereditary. Another element that fights against Adonis and his 1-ton bag of stress, but nonetheless, Adonis knows to have hope, faith, and determination to take care of his family. He knows to never give up and never let them down, which is what he aims to do forever. We see Creed training once again to be a boxer, and he also trains to be a father. Being forced to balance those two worlds at the same time, doing what he can to grow and learn, Adonis Creed must be reborn. After some badass and epic training and montages, and I mean badass, holy hell are these scenes perfect. I need to calm down. Creed finds his strength, his courage, and his passion for the game once again. We end up getting to the final fight of Creed 2, set in Moscow, Russia, the home of the Dragos, for the final fight between Adonis Creed and Victor Drago. The fight itself is a cinematic experience with excellent presentation. This film is very different from the last, as it is more emotional, intimate, and everything is on the line for both sides. Creed stays in the fight and subverts the world's expectations of how long he lasts in the fight, yet again. What transpires is my favorite moment of the film. Victor must win the belt to redeem his family and gain the respect of his country and his mother. Ivan reminds Victor of the magnitude of this fight, and that he must win. Reminds him that he cannot disappoint his country again and pressuring him to succeed. In a moment of agony, his country and mother once again shame and abandon Ivan and Victor, as it seems Victor is losing the fight in one of the last rounds of the fight. The scene slows and you watch as the Dragos watch their country leave them again. Watch his mother, this stranger, leave them again. Ivan, in a state of emotional vulnerability, comes to grips with the fact that he allowed his pride to come in the way of the life of his son. Ivan chooses to throw in the towel to protect and save his son from the match, choosing to put his son over the expectations of his country. Talk about finding meaning, purpose, and guidance to do what's right for yourself and your family. Ivan, in one of the best and most simplistic lines of the film, says, "It's okay. It's okay," as he hugs his son in a somber moment of clarity and pride. On the other side, Adonis wins the fight. He succeeded in honoring his father's legacy, coming to grips with his own meaning, and additionally, we witness the Dragos finish their own personal journey. A perfect way to tie everything together. And Creed, at the end of these two films, comes to grips with his upbringing, how his life played out, maturing as a man in his own persona, and additionally, with a thunderous applause, completes his journey to find meaning. I adore these two films once again. It's just so powerful from both the story of Adonis and then the second film, the story of Drago. Everything is so perfect, deep, and just genuine. I know I say that word a lot, but filmmaking should be genuine. It should come from the heart. It should come from a place of meaning. And these films are so real. And I understand both films are a bit of a rehash of stories in the Rocky franchise, but wow, these were crafted in respect of the prior films, unlike other franchises, and I could not get enough. The Creed films are how you create legacy sequels and pay homage to the work that came before. In no way, in my opinion, do these films disrespect the Rocky films, but instead they build upon what was previously crafted. Creed 1 and 2 are so nuanced. These ideas and themes are fresh and authentic, especially in today's cinematic state. This story is only possible because of the amazing cast and crew that worked so hard to put it together. Ryan Coogler and Stephen Caple Jr. do a terrific job at directing these first two films. I would have really liked to see a Creed 2 with Ryan Coogler directing, but I think Caple does an excellent job and of course made the film I, in my opinion, believe is better. The vision was incredible, especially of the moral themes they chose to pursue. Don't even get me started on the camera work. The cinematography is stunning. There were so many efforts to display symbolism, such as Creed staying at the bottom of the pool, showcasing that he is drowning and seeking in his current environment, struggling to bear the weight of the world in his upcoming fight. It's so good. I can't, oh my god, I'm like freaking out. It's just amazing. This leads me to the next reason the cinematography is perfect. The framing of the fight scenes were very close and intimate, which is my kind of filmmaking. It helped those climactic sequences result in intense and emotional moments. Maurice Alberti from the first Creed film and Kramer Morgenthau from Creed 2 are underrated cinematographers, and I cannot praise them enough. In addition to the great directing and camera work, Michael B. Jordan is a phenomenal lead. He created that peak immersion many of us want in our boxing films, and just films in general. Jordan has charisma and talent to attract attention in every scene he is in. We have the magnificent Sylvester Stallone returning as the Mikey Rocky Balboa, the Italian stallion, who becomes the father figure that Jordan's character, Adonis Creed, never had. Their chemistry thrives in these films, and is so genuine and engaging. Also, I must give a slight nod to Tessa Thompson in these films as well. Typically, as an actress, she is very snarky, sarcastic, and a know-it-all in most of her roles, and this stood out as a compelling love interest, which I was not expecting from her. This cast is simply stacked. And I'm going to go on a bit of a rant here. I find these films just very important to me because, similar to Creed, I grew up without a father. Didn't really have that influence, but I did have an amazing mother who we see that Marianne was amazing to Creed and took care of him. And that resonates with me a lot. And I think that filmmakers should, of course, make characters that the audience can relate to. Of course, I'm not like a 6'4" ripped boxer, but I'm someone who's experienced hardship in my life, who's experienced loss, who's faced many challenges and many mountains. And that's something that, on a deeper level, everyone should be able to relate to and understand. It doesn't have to be a visual sense that this person has to look, talk, and act like me, but they can go through my hardships, and they can also bounce back and become stronger from their situations than they were if they never went through them. So I just want to thank Brian Coogler and Stephen Capel for working so hard in these films. I know a lot of people bash these first two Creed films a lot, but I do find them very important to me, and that's of course why it is so important that we have filmmakers that are making such incredible work like they are today. But I just wanted to rant, just tell you all why these films are important to me. But I hope once again you all enjoyed this video essay. I'm still getting used to this format. Just thank you for joining me on this journey, and please like and subscribe to see more content like this. It will be a while to my next video because I have stuff going on in my life, but I will try and release at least one video essay a month, maybe some reviews here and there of films that I see in theaters because I go to the movies way too much. I have a problem. I need help. I hope you all have a great day. Peace.